Oh boy, it has been an eternity. Are we good? I don't know if it's too low. All right, let's do it. It has been a very long time since I filmed. I don't even know exactly how long, but I'm guessing maybe like a year. A year, that's a long time. I have a monstrous pile sitting around me to talk to you about. I've been struggling a little bit, honestly, with like some mental health stuff in relation to the other creative things I do, specifically for work. And because of that, all of my creative energy has just been completely diverted to fiber crafts. So I have a lot to talk to you about. Welcome, my name is Lee. I guess I should introduce myself since it's been so long. I am a creative living here in Pittsburgh, sunny Pittsburgh, PA, and wow, it's been a while. I'm primarily a knitter, but I also do dabble in crochet, cross stitch, and sewing, and I actually have a crochet and sewing whip to show you today, which is very exciting. But yeah, I'll probably be a little bit rambly. One of the things I have a really hard time with is editing these videos. So I'm just going to try and keep it casual and minimize editing. So we're gonna do this. It may take a really long time. This may be a 2-hour long video, but we'll get through it and it'll be great. I personally love really long videos, so we'll survive. We'll get through it together. I have a dog clicking, clacking outside my door. Apologies if you hear him start barking. He's on edge today. And my husband is probably going to be arriving home from work soon. So there will be some noise. I'll try to remember to pause, but I hope not because I don't have to edit. This winter weather, it is January something, 13th? Yes, it's January 13th, 2022. This winter weather is drying out all of my stuff, so I apologize for any sniffles or throat clearing. And I don't apologize for much, so what am I supposed to do? First, I guess I'm supposed to tell you about my mug. Isn't it amazing? It's got quite a glare on it. It is, if you couldn't tell, I was kidding earlier about it being sunny Pittsburgh. It is very overcast and rainy today. It had been snowing, but this mug was a Christmas gift from my husband. Oh, it goes all the way around. It is incredible. This is my favorite mug. It is handmade by an artist that I don't know their full name because this was a Christmas gift from my husband and he bought it from one of our local occult shops. But it's stamped, goodness, it is stamped K-Buck on the bottom. And it just has regular coffee in it with lots of cream and lots of sugar, well, lots of oat milk and lots of sugar because that's how I like my coffee. All right, like I said, we're gonna start from scratch. It has been so long since I've filmed. There's no way I'd ever remember what I talked about last time. There's no way I could ever catch you up on what I've made since then. So we are going to start the new year and new podcasts completely fresh. I'm not going to talk about any recent acquisitions or products that I've recently finished. Just we're starting from what I'm working on right now. The one thing I do want to talk about that I have finished is this sweater. This is a contrast sweater. I guess I can point you down a little bit. I'm wearing bike shorts, very official. But this is a contrast sweater. That's the name of the pattern, by Petite Knit. And it's made out of 100% cotton from LaRue cotton in the colors. Never mind, don't ask me about the colors. I don't remember them. But it was too short. I knit it the first time and I didn't like where the orange started on my waist, it cut me off in a really strange place and made me look really bizarre. So I didn't wear it at all. And finally, just like 2 days ago, I cut the sweater apart. I cut the rust color off, added a couple of inches here. The yarn was not the same color, but I like faded it in. I added, I don't know if you can see this, one stripe of the rust color to make it look a little bit more intentional, and added some length in there. So I figured I'd be more likely, even if the color didn't match exactly, I'd be more likely to wear it if the gray was longer at all. So, and I was right. It is very comfortable, perfect, wonderful now. I love it. I made this early 2020 maybe, or late 2020. Late 2020. This was my Halloween sweater for 2020. And I didn't wear it at all until today because I finally, 2 days ago, fixed it. I apologize if you hear my phone. It's leaning against the tripod because I'm a dummy and it is blowing up. Oh dang, I did have one more finished object to show you. I'm gonna get it. Pause. All right, I'm back. The only other finished object I wanted to show you is my pair of finished Christmas socks. I knit several pairs of Christmas socks this year, and I actually still have like 3 pairs of Christmas socks going because Christmas is my favorite holiday. But I finished these after the new year. So these are my most recent finished object, and they are beautiful. These are socks for me, knit in a homespun house. I'm gonna be a really bad podcaster today because I don't remember anything about anything. I did not write notes. I am here on a whim. I don't remember the colorway, but by the time this video goes up, I will try to have updated my Ravelry page, which will be linked below with most of the details of the projects you will see. Most of them. There are a couple that I haven't put up on there yet, but I'll try to make sure to have these because I don't remember the color, and these are so good. This homespun house yarn was a joy to work with. It is very squishy and plump. And I just did vanilla socks with a 2x2 cuff and a 3x1 rib down the leg and the top of the foot. And you can't really tell on camera, but the brown contrast color is sparkly. The stripy color isn't, but the brown is. And I love these so much. I have enough yarn left over from these to make another pair of socks, but I will be gifting it to a friend so that she can make a matching pair of socks and we can be twinsies. So yeah, those are my only finished objects so far. And oh man, where do I start? I should start with knitting, right? My husband's home. He may interrupt me. I'm trying really hard not to pause this recording, but I may have to. Hey babe, I'm recording. I love you. All right, you may hear him walking around, but he lives here, so he's allowed. He just stuck his head in and then got scared and left. All right, so let's start with knitting. No, we'll get my one crochet project out of the way first. I'm not doing any of these projects in any particular order besides that I want to do the crochet one first. I only have a vague idea of when I cast everything on. So we'll start with the crochet project. It is in this bag from some Etsy seller that I don't remember. It is just it's like a cotton canvas drawstring bag with a leather little wrist strap, and it has lots of pockets on the inside also. It's pretty great. But this first project I still have on the hook here is a granny stripe blanket. And I have this many squares done. I'm so excited. I never crochet. I don't know what got into me, but this is actually the Woolberry Fiber Co. Advent from 2020. And, excuse me, I just had it sitting here. I literally had it, let me show you, on the shelf over here. You see that little crate right there? I had both of my Advents from 2020 on there. One of them is still in there, and the other one was the Woolberry one here. And I was like, I haven't used this Advent yet, so I think I'm gonna do it. And what I'm gonna do is make a granny square blanket. So I started making granny squares. I can get exactly 2 squares from each 20-gram mini. And some of them I cut a little close, and some of them I have a good bit left over, depending on how stressed I am that day. I think I have like 35 squares so far, I'm not exactly sure. But I also have thrown in the 2020 road trip minis, also from Woolberry Fiber Co., because they're the same base and the same, you know, they're very cohesive in the dye style. So every once in a while in here, you'll see one color that only has 1 square. Those are road trip minis. And I've also included, this is the main skein from the Advent in a Nitty Natty Yarn Cozy. It's not gonna focus. There you go. In a cozy I knit up. This is the main color. I am just knitting squares out of it as well. So I'll get 10 squares out of this one. 48 squares from the Advent, and then 10 more squares from the road trip minis. Yeah, I'm actually also using Nitty Natty's Granny Square pattern, but I am doing 9 rounds instead of 8, so they're a little bit bigger. Or 7, I don't remember. I'm doing a few more rounds than a round or 2 more than she does, so they're a little bit bigger. The color I'm on right now is this gorgeous green color. I'm really loving this color right here. I think this is one of the road trips. And I'm getting pretty light in here for minis. It's like, I don't know if you can even see in there. It's getting close, I'm getting close. But whenever I finish up a color, I either knit a couple off the main color ball just to get those out of the way so I don't have to knit 10 squares of the same color at the end. Or I get Brad to stick his hand in and pick me a random color, which is nice to have him involved. But that's gonna be so exciting. I'm, excuse me, on the fence still if I want to have a smaller blanket out of just all of these squares. How many squares is that? 48, 58, 68 squares. I was thinking if I needed just 1 or 2 more to make an even rectangle, I could just use some of the border color to make a couple of squares and stick them in. Or I have a couple of colors in my stash that I think might go okay. I might knit like go through some scraps or pull some colors that I know would go well and knit just a few squares out of those and make it a bigger blanket. I'm not sure yet. I'm winging it. I'm following my heart. Right, next thing, that's my only crochet project. And it's been my only crochet project. I did my 2021 in review, like breakdown of all of the projects I did in 2021, and I did 0 crochet projects. So I'm excited to have one going. Crochet normally really hurts my hand, but this hook is really helping, actually. I didn't tell you anything about the hook, but the hook is a 3.5 millimeter, and it is from the Bee Queen collection, and this is the Hollywood. Not Hollywood, but the wood is made of holly. The handle is made of holly wood. I love it. It's a really good hook. Highly recommend. Now for knit projects, let's go through socks first because they're fun, they're wonderful. I love them a lot, but they're honestly not very exciting. So first sock I have is a Christmas sock. This one is made of Christmas yarn, but I cast it on New Year's Eve with my friend who has the same sock set, and we are making matching socks. And I have one sock done. This is the Sorella sock set in the spruce colorway, something like that. It might just be called spruce. But it was from her 2020 Christmas collection, and my friend gifted me this color, this whole sock set for our Christmas swap together. And I'm using the Hermione's Everyday sock like texture on it, but I'm obviously just doing like my normal Fish Lips Kiss Heel and whatever. And I did a little bit of the contrast color on the cuff as well. And I love these. This texture is just really addicting to knit. I love it so much. I cast on the second sock just the other day and got just the cuff done, but I got distracted. So it's been sitting for a minute. I will talk about what distracted me here in just a moment, right after I talk about the other 2 pairs of socks I have. I actually have more whips going right now. I'm just not working on any of them. I only brought up whips that I'm actively working on. That's not a problem. All right, this is another sock that I have a whole one completed. And this is sparkly. Can you see that in the, oh my gosh. This color is insane. This was the mystery sock set from Murray & Co. Wool Goods. Murray & Co. But yes, this was the mystery sock set for December, and it's called White Christmas. And it is just impeccable. It's so good, so good. This is just a vanilla sock. I do all of my vanilla socks 64 stitches on either US 1 or US 0 needles, depending on what I have available. Either works for me. And the other pair of socks I have are also half finished. We also have one pair of socks here. These right here, this yarn is beautiful. This is from a dyer that I have never purchased from before. I cannot remember her name. I know she's in Maine, and it's like cherry Christmas cake, I think is the name of the color, the main color. And look at it. It's up in this like delicious little striping way with the little green dot speckles, and it's just, it's so good. I am using an onion nettle sock yarn in a cream color, a natural cream color for the contrast, and it's just, I love it. Another Christmas sock, one done. I'm on the leg of the second one, so that one's a little bit farther. I haven't cast on the second sock of, not that, I haven't cast on the second sock of this one yet. It is still just in here with its needles. Oh, and this little bag right here, I made. Isn't it adorable? It's a little drawstring. It's lined in this cream color. It's got red twill tape drawstrings, and it's got a box bottom. But it's just big enough for a pair of socks, and I was really proud of myself. I have some big sewing news at the end of this podcast, so stay tuned if you're interested in sewing at all, but I'm putting that at the end because if you're only here for knitting content, that's okay too. The last pair of socks are, speaking of which, both of these are Woodsy and Wild bags. She makes my favorite sock bags, and she's from South Carolina, which is my home state, so I love that. I'm supporting local makers. Night before last, I got home from work and I had a package waiting for me. Shock and surprise. It was yarn, and it was the new self-striping sock set from Tiny Human Knits. She is doing, what is she doing? A Lord of the Rings themed sock set every month this year, I think is what she was talking about. And I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. It's like, all right, I'm pretty neutral. I'm pretty neutral about it. But the colors of this January set, whoa, I was like, yes, yes, please. So I ordered it immediately. It got here night before last. I immediately cast on. This is my first sock. I have the heel done on the back here. This is the contrast color that she provides. And I have one more stripe before the toe. And then I'll be done with the first sock here. This cute little progress keeper is sparkly and handmade by my friend who we're making the socks together. That friend. That didn't make much sense how I said that, but that's the friend who made this progress keeper. But yeah, I have that going. These socks have been the only thing I've wanted to work on yesterday and today, so they are getting all of the attention. None of my other socks. Then I have, what do I have? I have one cowl, which okay. I've had a hard time with finishing things, especially towards the end of last year, that go around my neck. I haven't been able to finish any shawls, any cowls, anything like that. I've frogged a couple and it's just a thing. But this pattern released and I happened to have yarn in stash and was like, I'm gonna do it. I love this pattern. So I cast on the envelope cowl. Cannot tell you who designed it off the top of my head, but this is what it looks like. It is a provisional cast on and knit a tube and then sew it together at the end. But I've finished the first pattern repeat. It does a section of these honeycomb texture and then also like some stripes, and then it starts over and does that again. And oh my gosh, it's so fun and addicting to knit. I am using, I don't think I'm gonna have enough of this. Mileage may vary, and I did the math and it said I was supposed to have enough of this according to how I understood. Listen, focus on me, focus. According to the pattern, it said like I should have had enough, but I'm running awful low on these two. But this is a fuzzy lace weight yarn like a mohair that is not a mohair. It does not have silk in it. It has tinsel in it instead. And I think instead of mohair, it's alpaca. And maybe merino. It might have some merino in it as well. But this is from, my brain is half working today. I do have a project page for this. All of the details will be on the project page, linked below. The main color though, not the cream, this fadey color, is Spin Cycle. And this is, I have a full skein in here, so I can easily tell you what this is. This is Spin Cycle's Dyed in the Wool in the color Space Oddity. Space Oddity, not Space Odyssey. Are you not gonna, the camera is acting up. But this is Space Oddity. And I love this color. I picked this up when we were in Portland, Oregon. I really wanted to buy some of this when they released it online and they immediately sold out, so I couldn't. But Starlight Knitting Society had some in stock, so I was able to buy some from them. And I have 2 skeins of that, and I may need to order more of this cream color. Comma Rose. Comma Rose is the name of the yarn manufacturer company, whatever you would like to call it. Why? My phone is not wanting to focus. Autofocus off. That should be fine. I don't know why it's acting up. Where's it my eyes? Autofocus? Good. No. You're thinking about it. It may have situated itself. All right, last few knitting projects I have on the go are all garments. Isn't that exciting? I think it's really exciting. I actually have knit night tonight and I'm gonna be leaving in like an hour. But that leads me into this first garment, which is my knit night project. I have needles floating around in here because I was digging in here for something. All right, this first sweater is the VZ, designed by Paula Pereira for Brooklyn Tweed. And this is the VZ. It's part of their like school themed collection that they came out in the fall, I believe. And I fell in love with this sweater immediately and went and bought yarn for it from my local yarn shop. So that's what I knit on when I go to my knit night there at my local yarn shop. And so far I am I halfway through a row? Oh, no, I'm not. Yes, I am. I definitely am halfway through a row. Girl, why do I do this? Anyways, I'm this far. It is camera. You can chill out. It is knit top down and it is V-neck, so it is flat for the whole section down until the V meets. So I am still working on increases around the V here, like that. It's on needles that are pretty small, but it'll be like this. And this is my main color. It is called, I'm using the recommended yarn, which is Brooklyn Tweed Arbor, which is their DK weight, wonderfully plump and squishy yarn. I have knit a sweater in this yarn before and was actually itching to do another one, so this was the perfect excuse. But the colorway for the main color is Crumb, and it is discontinued. So I don't know if you'll be able to find it except in like D-Stash or something. My local yarn shop still had some in stock, so I basically bought them out of it so that I could have a sweater in it. But it's this gorgeous like grungy brown camel color. It's like oh so slightly greenish. And then the contrast colors are actually extra yarn from the previous sweater I knit in Arbor. I had scraps because the contrast colors are only for, you don't need very much of them. I have this colorway called Spruce, which is also discontinued. Sorry about that. And then I have this color. I cannot remember the name of this color, but I'll have a project page listing the colors. And that's it. It's gonna be those three colors and I'm very excited about it. I am still trying to decide if I want to do them in like this order where the cuffs and neckline are mostly this with a stripe of green, or yeah, I think I'm gonna want to do that. So it'll be like that. Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited to work on that tonight. Oh, it's gonna be so good. It's cropped and will go perfectly with skirts or high-waisted pants. You know, I think one of the problems my camera might be having is that it's so low light in here right now because there's no sun shining. It is working really hard to keep me looking lit right now. But I only have a couple more projects to show you. 3 exactly. And then we can do some chit-chatting and I can talk about my plans for 2022 because I have done some wish list making. All right, another garment that I have, the second garment I want to show you, is one that has been on the needles for quite a while. It was actually in hibernation for a minute, but I finally, I did it, you guys. I was working on, is the pattern in here? No. I can probably find it on my phone though. I can definitely find it on my phone. I am knitting the Owlery blouse by Fable Knitwear. And I will show you a picture of it if you haven't seen it. But it's been on my wish list for a long time. And I finally just broke down, bought the yarn, and cast on like immediately. But after I bought the pattern, bought the yarn, and cast on, only then did I realize that this pattern requires intarsia knitting, which I've never done before. And so I was like, okay, guess I gotta learn intarsia. So I finished the body, I knit the whole body, the way it's knit from bottom up. So I knit the body, I knit the sleeves, and then when it was time to join them in the round was when you start intarsia. that's when it hibernated. That's when it went into hibernation. Da, da, da. There we are. This one. This is the owlery blouse, and it's knit in a fingering weight yarn for the body, and then the sleeves and yoke are knit in mohair. And it's just so ethereal and beautiful looking. So I finally did it. I broke down, I sat down one night and I figured it out. And it looks, sorry, giving the camera a moment to focus. Bruh. Okay, it looks so small. Friend, are you gonna chill out? Okay. It looks like the body looks so short, but honestly, I have the world's shortest torso. So this is actually just barely up to the armpit here. And I've joined in the sleeves. And now I'm working flat. This will be the keyhole front. And I have a little ways farther to go knitting the solid top before I stop knitting with the solid color and move to only mohair. But these are my sleeves. They're so fluffy and light. And these yarns are both dyed by Little Lionhead Knits, and they are both the same color. It's called Elderflower, and it's just so tasty. This, like, it's much darker on the mohair color, or mohair base. But look how ethereal it looks in this sock yarn. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, that one's good. It might get picked up every once in a while. It might go into hibernation again. I'm not 100% sure yet. Because I have one more garment that I'm working on, and it is in this bag. This bag is a drawstring bag. Oh, I didn't tell you about both that bag with my owlery blouse in it and this pair of socks. These are both from Paisley and Gold Sewing. And I didn't tell you about my VZ bag either. This one, I also don't know the name of the maker. This is from a maker in Russia, and it is a big squishy drawstring bag. I've put some enamel pins on it. And it's got lots of pockets and stuff. I don't remember the maker though, someone on Etsy. This final bag though has an entire sweater in it, even though it's probably not big enough for a sweater. But this is a bag that I made out of a vintage fabric that I stole from my grandmother and some cotton canvas that I had lying around, and I quilted it with embroidery floss. And it has like a little hooky on top and cord drawstrings. And in here is my first cast on of 2022 and my garment that I'm knitting for the crazy cabled sweater cowl that is being hosted by Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady, and Lindsay of Sock Witchery. I believe her name is Lindsay. But this is what I'm gonna make, or what I am making. This is the Irish Rover pullover by Tetty's Knit Garden, the pattern. And it is a bottom-up cabled sweater. It's not like complex cables. It's got like these 3 fat cables and then these little mini cables going down in between. But this, okay, this yarn smells incredible. But this is as far as I am up the body. This is so much fun to work on. This is the other thing besides my tiny human knit socks. This is the only other thing I want to work on. Whenever I sit down with this, I just can't put it down. But this is knit out of Nutidin, Honor Rocher Nutidin yarn in the color Glimped, and I am holding it double. I have one cake in my bag at a time, and I'm pulling from the inside and the outside at the same time. And this is my first time knitting with Nutidin because I've been scared. I have 2, including this one, 2 sweater quantities of Nutidin and a sweater quantity of Plötulopi. And I had yet, until this year, been brave enough to actually start knitting with them. I had plans for all of it, but no guts. So I finally broke down, did it, and let me tell you, I am enjoying every single second of it. It is so much fun. I'm so excited. As soon as I finish this sweater, I feel like I'm going to cast another one on with my other sweater quantity. I love it. If you've been on the fence about trying it, just do it. It's, so good. So good. I have very strong feelings about this project right here. It's going to be so cozy, and the pattern is gorgeous, and I have lots of good things to say about patterns designed by Tetty of Tetty's Knit Garden, because like I said, I've done a make 9. Well, actually I don't know if I said I made a make 9 specifically, but I did a make 9 for this year, and like 4 or 5 of the patterns were all from Tetty. I just love everything she designs. It's all so good. I will go a little bit more into that in just a moment, but first I want to show you my one single sewing whip. And oh yeah, I also wanted to tell you about my sewing news. My sewing news is actually that I got a sewing machine. I don't know if anyone, I don't think anyone knew this. I don't think I have mentioned it on the, I don't think I've mentioned it on the channel like at all. I don't think, but all the sewing I've done in the past, like this and any of the other several project bags I've made or anything, I do all my sewing by hand. I just really enjoy it. It scratches that same brain itch as knitting does, with just being able to sit on the couch and like hand stitch things. But I'd never made anything big either. So late last year, I decided I was going to give sewing a garment by hand a try, and didn't finish anything. But then it so happened that someone I knew through social circles had her grandmother's vintage sewing machine, and she wanted to get rid of it. I jumped on it because I'd been kind of like toying with the idea of getting a very simple, like mechanical only sewing machine, because I'm not interested in getting a computerized sewing machine or anything. But the idea of a vintage sewing machine was ideal. So the fact that that one just like fell into my lap, I was like, yes, that's what I want for Christmas. I told my husband, I told her, we made it work. I got a vintage sewing machine. I'm still figuring out how to work it. But just having the sewing machine here has kicked me back into gear to wanting to finish this garment that I started last year. So I've been working on my hand sewn garment while simultaneously trying to figure out how to work my new sewing machine. Not on that garment. I've been trying it out on other things. Like on bags or masks or just scrap fabric, stuff like that. Because before this sewing machine, I'd never touched a sewing machine at all, ever. Never used one. And honestly, it's terrifying giving up control. Like, you have so much control over hand sewing. You have no control over a machine. It feels like, to me, it feels like no control. But it's in the other room. Like I said, I'm trying not to edit this video, so I will put a picture of it here on my phone to show you. Where's my new sewing machine? I passed it. There it is. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see it. But this is my new sewing machine. It is called a Rocketeer. It is a Singer from 1961. She took it to a sewing machine mechanic and had her look up the serial number and make sure it was in working order. But the model style is called the Rocketeer. It was only made in like the 60s. It looks super modern. I love it. I love it so much. It is a beast. I am doing my best working through it. Like figuring out how to work it. I'm here. I'm here. Thank you. But real quick, I will show you my hand sewing project. I am sewing myself a skirt. I don't wear a lot of skirts, but I honestly think that's because I don't own very many skirts. And I knit a lot of crop sweaters, a lot of crop tops, like things that require high-waisted garments to go with them. I wanted a nice linen skirt. Figured instead of buying one, I was gonna make one for myself. I have all of the pieces of the skirt here. This is the color of the fabric I have. It is in a precarious state right now because I have it pinned all to heck. I sat down today and I had to crack the code of the pleat because I didn't use a pattern for this. I just made it up. I drafted it myself. So I sat down today and I cracked the code of the pleat and I started pinning on the waistband so that I can start sewing it down. But I have button bands sewn down. I have pockets hidden in pleats. It's got 2 pockets. And once I get the waistband sewn on, I can hem it and do button stuff. So that'll be exciting. But that is not exciting. I have this linen skirt. This color I believe is called Pumpkin, and it is 100% linen, and it is from Burnley and Trowbridge, which is the source that I buy all of my garment fabric from, because I've only bought a few quantities enough for garments, but I want them to be heirloom quality. So I buy from Burnley and Trowbridge. I'm also doing my hand sewing in a very old school traditional way. I am using linen thread, also from Burnley and Trowbridge. This is unwaxed linen thread. It's not gonna focus on it. Anyway, I have a brick of beeswax that I run the thread through to wax it. And this is, I have another spool here in the same color. Oh, it's marked on it. It's the color Redwood. I have sewing size, sewing weight, and then this is buttonhole weight. These are the colors I'm using for my skirt. The buttonhole weight is 50 over 3, and the sewing weight is 80 over 3. And I've also used a little bit of this natural linen color, which I have a fat spool of, for some of the parts of the skirt that aren't visible from the outside. And for buttons, I got these vintage reclaimed buttons. They're made from mussel shells, and those will be the buttons all down the front. And that's it. That's what I got. Those are all the things I've been working on. That is a lot of things. But it's okay. I've been really embracing this mindset lately of, you know, this is my hobby. I do this to relax and have a good time. I'm just going to have the most good time and cast things on when I feel like it and not feel guilt. So that's what I'm doing. Real quick, before we finish up here, all of my new acquisitions have already been introduced into the stash, so I don't know which ones are, like I do know which ones are, I'm not getting to them, all my new acquisitions. So we're gonna skip acquisitions today. If I can keep up with podcasting, I will show you acquisitions in future episodes. But I do wanna talk real quick about plans for this year. I have right here my knitting notebook. This is, or making notebook, making journal, knitting and crochet and whatever notebook. This is from Muji. It's just one of their paper lined notebooks. And I have in here just pages of notes of things that I have going on, and lists and all sorts of fun stuff. I wrote like my Christmas list, making list in here, my sock swap details, because I did 2 sock swaps. I did the Winter Wishes sock swap hosted through La Mercerie, shop La Mercerie. And I also did an optional one just with my friend. I was like, hey, you wanna do this with like just us? And she's like, yeah. But then I made a spread of 2022 plans, and this is exciting. I am not the kind of person who will make plans for things that I know are going to be like impulsive. So I'm not including anything in plans that are like socks or accessories, things that I'm gonna cast on a whim. Like that's not part of my deal. All of this includes are things like garments and things that I have specific yarn for physically here in stash. Because one of my goals this year is to work through stash, and I have lots of sweater quantities. I have something like 25 sweater quantities in this room, and I want to start working through some of it. I bought all of it because I love it, and I wanted to use it, there has to be a time. So I did here, oh, my battery's gonna die, but I have a spare. Here I did a make 9, and my make 9 includes 1, 2, 3, 4 patterns from Teti's Knit Garden, and 2 Sorry Nordland patterns, 1 from Lily Kate France, 1 from Yarn Flakes, and 1 from Hive Knits. I have listed my 9 and then listed them down here with the yarn I want to use for them, because all of these I have the yarn physically here already, except, okay, that's not true. There are 2 that I have yarn on the way, but I ordered it last year. It was just custom dyed to order yarn and just isn't physically here yet, but it's in my brain, it's here. And then I have a little list here of other things that yarn I have in stash and the projects I'd like to make with them. Like if I decide to, switch one out or maybe have extra time, I don't know, something like that. Give me just a second. I'm going to change out this battery. And we're back. Yeah, I also have written here Shetland Trader Volume 3, yeah, Book 3, because I bought it and I want to make something out of it, but I don't have specific plans for anything in it yet, nor the yarn for it. So that's just like, keep in mind that you want to make something out of that. There are actually like 4 patterns in there that I really want to make, but that is neither here nor there. And I've started listing projects that I have going now that I really want to finish, like as soon into 2022 as I can. Both of these, the top and bottom one, you've seen in this podcast, but I didn't show off my twigs. It's been in hibernation, but I also have a twigs going by Junko Okamoto. But yeah, I have on my list of make 9 the first sweater. I'm just gonna talk through these. It's not like I don't have the patterns like handy, and I'm not going to bother editing pictures onto the screen. I guess I could. I don't know. Maybe, I probably won't. But you can look at any of them. I'll list them below. That's what I'll do. I'll list them in the box below so you can click through and see the patterns on Ravelry if they're available, or Instagram if there's just pictures, if they're not released yet. I think there's only 1 pattern on here that hasn't actually been released yet, and that is the first one, which is the first sweater by Hive Knits. I really want to make that sweater. I loved it since the first minute I saw it. I love the look of fisherman's rib or half fisherman's rib because it looks like brioche, and I hate making brioche. Like, I don't like it. I don't like doing it. I've tried it. It's not for me. But I have yarn for that. That is one of the special order yarns I ordered. I ordered a sweater quantity of Fiber for the People for my Christmas gift to myself. I actually did 2 sweater quantities. I did one of the color Indoor, which is this beautiful dark green. I did a merino fingering weight and a suri to hold double. And that's what I want to use for the first sweater. And I also ordered a sweater quantity of a sport weight, her hemp merino sport, in this beautiful like golden orange colorway. And with that, I want to make the Atlantica by Yarn Flakes. It was published in a pom-pom volume. I don't remember which one. One of the pom-pom quarterlies, but it was recently released as a single pattern, so I was able to buy just the pattern by itself. I want to make that. And then I have 2 Sorry Nordland patterns. I want to make the Sora, which has been on my list for a couple of years now, and I've had the yarn in stash to make that sweater specifically for about as long. So I finally want to just pull that out and use it. I have a Miss Babs Katahdin and like a Miss Babs Katahdin scrap. She sells like partial skeins, and I'm going to use that for my Sora. And also the Willa cardigan. I have yarn in stash specifically for a Willa cardigan, and I've never made a cardigan. And I'm really excited to make a cardigan. I have 2 cardigans on my list. The other one is the Made My Day cardigan by Lily Kate France. That one might be one of my next cast-ons because I also have yarn for it in stash, and I've been wanting to make it for a long time, but it's bulky weight, so I can probably finish it faster than some of the others. To be determined. Then the other 4 I have on my list are from, like I said, from Tetty's Knit Garden. I have the Irish Rover pullover, which is actually this one. So I've already started one of my Make 9s, and I didn't start it till the new year, so there we go. And I have the Spicy Stem pullover, which is actually what I bought the other sweater quantity of Knitted In for. So I will have 2 Knitted In sweaters if I can get my Make 9 done. Then I have the Forest Keys vest, which is a vest, like it's no sleeves and cropped and v-necked, and it has optional intarsia. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. It's got color work along the bottom and then an optional intarsia panel on the front. But I got this gorgeous like olivey greeny brown for the main color, and this is really, really bright like scarlet red. Scarlet orangey red for like a vermilion. That's the word. Like a vermilion for the color work. For that is Biche et Bouche lamb's wool. That's what I got for that. And then the last one on my list is the Fin Boss pullover from Tetty's Knit Garden. And that is, I have a sweater's quantity of recycled wool in my stash. And it's like a grayish brown color. And this is also a color work top. And the contrast color that I have for it is this gorgeous not chocolatey, like mahogany brown alpaca, undyed alpaca that I got from a local yarn shop in Virginia when I was visiting Brad's family. It was from a local alpaca farm there in Virginia. So that'll be exciting to use those things out of stash too. I have so many things I want to knit, I want to make. There just aren't enough hours in a day. And that's also not including, you know, any socks or anything I decided to add last minute, because my sock stash, you guys, is getting ridiculous. I don't think it was that many. It might have been the last video I published. I don't remember. But my stash tour, man, I've done some damage since that video. Oof. Oof. I told myself that if I had to start putting yarn in storage, I'd taken it too far. And I'm running out of room in my storage, like my designated yarn storage areas. So that's one of the reasons I need to work through stash this year. That's like my big goal, is to make a dent in this stash. I also have given myself the challenge to knit a stripy pair of socks every month this year to work through some of my self-striping stash, which isn't unreasonable. Like, the amount of self-striping yarn I have isn't unreasonable, but it's just another thing like that I can do to make it fun for me to work through some of my sock yarn, because sock yarn has two, like I have this calyx over here, 2 cubes in it are sock yarn. I have a fall winter sock yarn cube and a spring summer sock yarn cube. And then I have a box of Christmas yarn, only Christmas sock yarn. And I have a display of sock mini skeins up at the top of the shelf, not to mention scraps and random like bits and bobs. Like, let me show you. Here's my calyx over here. Pardon the mess. But like down here, let me see if I can point. Down here is a little pile of sock yarn. That's a pile of sock yarn. Those are sock yarns up there. That's all my sock yarn scraps. Like, it's ridiculous. Sock yarn is my one true weakness. So we're working through some of that this year. I will probably make a good dent in it for summer sock camp this year. Oh god, I didn't turn you all the way back, so now you get a view of like my ugly door. I just have stuff hanging off of my door handle. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's okay to have a stash that brings you joy, and it does. Brad makes fun of me, my husband, because I will just come in here and stand and look and bask in my yarn. And that's fine. If it brings you joy, don't feel guilty about it. There is no room for guilt in a pandemic. Not when it comes to stuff like that. There's room for guilt in a pandemic about other things, but not for yarn. Not for yarn. But that's all I got for you today. It was really nice sitting here and catching up with you today. It has been so long. I really hope I didn't make too many weird noises or do too many ums so that I can not edit this video. That would be really great. And I will see you guys in the next one, hopefully in less than a year.